Welcome to Smart Brown Voices, your weekly podcast featuring diverse voices from around the world, giving you insights on how others made it big in their respective fields. Now sit back, grab a notebook, and get ready to be inspired. And don't forget to use hashtag SmartBrownVoices to share insights, moments of wisdom, and things from the show that inspire you. And now, here's your host, social media nerd and technology activist, Mr. Mike Street.
Hey guys, it's Mike Street here, and welcome to Smart Brown Voices. We're on with Denitria Lewis, who lives out here in Harlem, and she's been one of my drinking buddies, for a couple of years now. And I wanted to get her on the show so we can kind of, talk, because we talk about a lot of stuff throughout the course of the week, and it's always very interesting, but and we do a lot of back and forth Facebooking and tweeting and all that other stuff. So I wanted to, kind of tune in other people out there into some of the, interesting conversations that we have had, over the course of the last couple of years. So introduce yourself to everyone.
Hi, everybody. First and foremost, I'm Denitria Lewis. I am a media strategist or a socio-techno futurist. I've been living in New York for about 8 years, working in advertising. I'm a little upset that we're not having this podcast over bourbon, but I guess I'll get over it. And that's it. Looking forward to hearing some good stuff today and maybe sharing some good stuff.
So now you say that you're a socio-techno futurist. Now, I've never heard that term before. So can you, give our audience kind of an overview of like how you came up with that title and then kind of like what that means, and give us a little more about your background and what you do on a day-to-day basis.
Well, I just kind of took the TED model of introducing myself, taking a hybrid of two things that I'm really good at and then blending it with something that's forecasting for the next wave. As a media strategist, one of the main components of my job is listening, which is a highly, obviously, social thing in this day and age. You're going to be listening through all these different social spaces where people are just kind of sharing their opinions. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram are always the usual suspects. But what I like to do is I venture into the news sites like Quora and Huffington Post and just, wherever news of interest is being shared to me, and the blogger comment sections, I'm actually in there quite frequently. I start my day with the news digest and, just depending on where the topic kind of leads me down the rabbit hole with the comments and the insights from people in their most natural states. This is where I get a lot of, how I kind of approach my clients. Essentially, I'm mentally redditing the entire internet every day.
So you're providing kind of like more cultural context for your clients?
Indeed. I'm providing cultural context to things that people are sharing in relation to like what's current in news. And then obviously from a branding perspective, clients have specific goals they want to reach, specific products that they want to focus on. And what I'll do is I'll go into these spaces where people say it's a food client. I may go on Instagram and search Noms or Eats or any of those different things to see how people are kind of interacting in those spaces where food is already popular, and then try to turn that into some type of insight that my client can use for their benefit, either in their own social spaces or in their actual advertising.
Or in their business. So you're helping to kind of provide deeper context with all of the social data that is, floating around there on the space, because there's actually a lot of it. And I think a lot of the brands, I think, like when I'm talking to brands, they kind of just don't know, what to do with all that data. So how do you make it more real for them?
They really don't. And, there are brands out here who are data beasts. Google and Amazon, just for starters. But you have other clients out there who have been collecting insights and data for years, and they don't exactly know how to distill it into something that's useful. So a part of what I do when I come in is looking at everything that you have, as it relates to a specific brand, and then trying to marry that with how the market is moving. And when I say how the market is moving, I mean how people are interacting online with brands that are similar to yours, how they're interacting online with topics and themes that are aligned with how your brand thinks, or maybe the complete opposite of how your brand thinks. It's a lot objective, but it's still a lot quantitative, because you are taking a data-focused approach to how you are going to potentially develop something strategic for your clients, whether it's through their actual media product that they put out or their actual media placements.
Now, do you think too many brands are jumping on the bandwagon of newer social networks too quickly? Like something just popped into my email 5 minutes before we got on this call. It was about someone started an agency just for Snapchat influencers. And I was like, what the hell is a Snapchat influencer? Because I can't even wrap my head around Snapchat yet to even use it in a branded context. I know there are a lot of brands that are experimenting with it. I know I've seen a lot of stuff from HBO and all that other stuff, but with not that much data on some of these newer platforms, do you feel that the brands are just jumping in too much on it?
Everybody is in a rush to be on top of things. And, it's a tortoise and a hare situation, because on one hand, you want to be the first to run the race. You want to be the tortoise. You want to be the hare. But there are times when you really should just kind of sit back and maybe even use the platform yourself. Use it for one of your brands. Not necessarily from an advertising perspective, but be a little stealth and see how the core fan base of this particular medium is using it. There's no, you're not Michael Phelps. Don't just jump in the deep end and think you're going to run the relay just because you've seen a couple people swim and it doesn't look that hard. I do think there's a definite rush to be on Fleek right away, as opposed to, really seeing what is the platform about, and does it really align with what you are trying to reach as a brand?
I want to jump in there, because you just used a term that, I think we should probably leave in 2014, which is on Fleek. And I think it's good in a if you're talking to your friends' context. So I've seen a ton of brands like IHOP and a bunch of other brands just pepper it into every freaking social media post that, they put out there. So talk to me a bit about, why you think brands are really trying to jump in, into culture and, especially, particularly African-American culture in particular. Why do you feel like brands like IHOP, every other post has a mention of Fleek in it, or something that's, kind of slang related? Well,
first and foremost, I know you see me use cultural IQ a lot online in different spaces, but I don't think a lot of people understand exactly what I mean by having good cultural IQ. So having good cultural IQ is really just a fundamental understanding of the social behavior of a society, specifically where various ethnicities are concerned. For our cases, we're talking about Black people. And the latest trends really just expose how little cultural IQ companies really have. So in an effort to be more like Oreo, who really won big a few years ago, capitalizing on that Super Bowl moment when the lights went out, they want to be on Fleek in their marketing and social, and they're misusing the slang, and there's cultural appropriation just running rampant. It was so bad at a point that I made a meme with Columbus short in it saying, "You've just been Columbus," because it's just really out of control. So, I do think that Black people as a whole, I enjoy that people are taking an interest in our culture because we are the leaders in this space. And that's not just according to Nielsen, if I can, posit my own thinking here, because I really wish to state this as fact. Metaphysically and universally, Black Americans set trends, whether consciously or not. People do follow us.
Fashion, to music, to everything.
Yeah.
Where, everybody wants to be on Fleek.
Exactly. So what concerns me about this is that from a commercial standpoint, we profit very little on our own influence. So, here we are, in a sense, locked out of the distribution, and we don't own our masters. We never have, historically speaking, and we never got that 40 acres and a mule. So, we're in this place where Black people are essentially the number one trending topic, good or bad. Black Twitter, Black Lives Matter. Like, I'm really waiting for the day when that hashtag is not just a rally cry, but really a way of life. Jon Stewart said on his show one night, it had to do with people talking about, I don't see race, I don't see color. He said that race is there, and it is a constant. You're tired of hearing about it. Imagine how fucking exhausting it is living it. And amen, ashe, peace to the gods and the earth, all that. If Black people, African Americans, Nubians, whatever you want to call it, like if we really truly understood the power of our influence both culturally and creatively, I really can't imagine where our communities would be as a whole right now.
So how do you, what do you feel like needs to change in order for us to get to that point? Because, we've had extensive talks about, places like Vine where we see all this, activity happening, and we see, or even when I look at YouTube, there's a ton of, Black or Latino people out there who make crazy videos and they have crazy engagement, but they're not getting those multi-million-dollar, deals and endorsements from, if you look at iJustine, who, gets multi-million-dollar deals with Barbie or Mr. Guitar Man. They're signing crazy deals and they just live off of what they do for YouTube. But you rarely ever see Black and brown faces signing those deals. The deals are much, much smaller.
I mean, if you look at Sophia Grace, this is a little girl who was obsessed with Nicki Minaj and had the opportunity to be on YouTube just because her parents happened to film it. She didn't even live in America. And her understanding of Blackness, in a sense, came in the form of Nicki Minaj. And here it is, she's on Ellen. She becomes a correspondent on Red Carpet, the Kids' Choice Awards, or what have you. And now she has a major clothing line deal with Kmart. But
it's a very hip-hop-sounding record.
Yeah. So, I remember when the Hot Cheetos and Takis kids were on the Kmart commercial 2 years ago, and people were kind of up in arms about it. I wasn't, because I was familiar with those kids. I had seen them online. Yeah. I knew they were popping. I knew they had, a great song, great sound, but there's no novelty in me, exhibiting my Blackness. There's no novelty in that. So when we do it, it's expected. You may or may not even know our name. We're just doing what Black people do.
We're just being creative and making something out of nothing. Look at hip hop culture. Taking old James Brown records and then making them into this a whole new music.
Yeah.
That's
We are
like where we are.
Yeah, and we are a culture of people who, if we can't make it, we make do. And that helps and hurts us in so many ways. I've seen it. It's hurt me in my corporate life, working on brands where one year I may have $2 million to work on 5 products, under one brand's umbrella. And then the next year I get that same $2 million, but I get 2 more brands added to that. So now, and you want me to do the same thing that I just did, because why? Because you guys got it. You'll make do. You saved us money last year, but that's the thread throughout everything that we've ever done in life. And it's not fair, but it's something that as marketers, like as experts in this space, as senior strategists in this space, we have to be the charge that pushes back and says to our clients, no, this is not acceptable, and this is how we blow this out. This is how we make this a really meaningful and robust campaign. These are the YouTubers or the Viners or the Instagrammers that we should be talking to. And I think that it even transcends beyond marketing spaces. Oprah recently came out saying that she didn't feel like there were any leaders in the protest and in this whole Black Lives Matter rally cry. But for my opinion, I feel that maybe she is not as informed as she could be, and a way to get more informed is to use your platform to talk to those people who are a part of these protests. Talk to those people who are the voices that are rising to the surface each time something about Black Lives Matter comes up. Talk to those people and find out what their needs are, or find out how you can help support their voices so they can be wider, so they can be heard just as well as your voice is heard.
Yeah, I feel like now there's like there's a lot of people that say stuff and they don't have like all the facts in front of them, because there are tons of leaders like who are in that movement, but Oprah lives a very disconnected lifestyle from what's really going on the ground. So when she made that statement, it may or may not have been in or out of context. But, now we have the, Twitter and everything else, and it gets blown up and amplified like 6,000 times over, just because of the lightning speed of everything that's going on. So I want to switch gears a little bit, and I want you to tell our listeners, how you really got started, because I know you work for a lot of different, well-known companies like MediaVest, and you also worked for Blue Flame Agency, which is a part of Diddy and the whole Ciroc stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm from Chicago, so I started my career there at one of the first agencies around for multicultural, Burrell. So when I started, my desk was literally 2 doors down from Tom Burrell, and embarrassingly, I had no idea who he was. I would speak to him every single morning, and part of me was like, who's this old guy working here? Like, he's always just kind of casually walking through the halls and like checking on everyone. But I started out as a media assistant, and the reason I got promoted was because I was actually horrible at my job as an administrative assistant in the media department, because I would keep taking work from other people. So some of the AMDs would have post buys or like all this really technical media stuff that they'd be working on that I found interesting, or I would go hang out, water cooler talk with the account planners and just see what they were doing. And in my interest, I would poach things from their desk to work on. And my boss noticed this. She also noticed that I was not doing her task and made it so that I was able to get promoted as a media coordinator. And then from there, I worked my way up to media supervisor before branching out to New York City, which is when I came to work for Spike Lee. And then from there, it's just, just following my path, essentially. What I really like to be known for is really kind of excelling and providing clients with thoughtful and strategic markers for success, especially to reach cross-cultural targets. So, on an average day, that's media strategy, whether it's traditional, digital, or social, account planning, and even some business development. So, if you want someone who's looking for a cookie-cutter approach to finding key insights to make your customers act or business trends and insights that among your competitors instead of beyond them, then I'm probably not the person for you, because I'm going to look at those very traditional methods. I'm going to use those in comparison to things that are more innovative or things that are not as easily tracked. Because you need to be able to see a campaign from different aspects, whether that's race, gender, age, economic background. Like, these are the things that makes your campaign more robust. And then you can speak to a wider audience without offending them. This is the thought process that I like to bring to the table, and I really encourage my clients to have that within their staff as well.
Awesome. So what's been one of your biggest accomplishments from working with, your different clients over there? What's been like a campaign or, just a little quick case study that you worked on that you're really proud of?
My biggest accomplishment was finally becoming confident and following my entrepreneurial path. It is a very hard road sometimes, but it's very fulfilling. So I was able to get to a point where I just recognized that my opinion and my skills and my voice have value. And so following that passion was one of the few things that I can use as a personal inspiration to keep going. I really can't pinpoint any specific campaign. I'm definitely one of those people that I just do work. My clients ask me to do something, and I do better than the best job that I think that I can do for them. And that's it. Some people have their portfolios and they have, I did this campaign, I did this, I did that. I can tell you what brands I worked on. I can tell you what type of work I did for those particular clients. But at the end of the day, all I'm focused on is, we have this goal to hit. Did we hit it or exceed that goal? We did. Awesome. Let's move on to the next thing. I like to keep a very fluid way of working. I did that task, and now I'm moving on to the next.
So what excites you about being in this space right now?
I'm going to go back to the culture argument. I'm really excited about brands taking that interest in what we as a people are doing. What is going to be important for me in the future is, if they take that interest and they are mindful with it. If there was one thing that I wanted to, if there was a problem that I wanted to solve, and this may be a bit, a touch Pollyanna to feel this way. As marketers, we may not cure cancer, but, we can shape the world. We shape how people view products and also how people view us globally, especially for people of color. So the images and ideas that we create are sometimes the only things that people from other countries know about us. So whether it's entertainment or content or pure branding, those personal perspectives and cultural cues really shape how people view everything. So people, places, ideas, as a marketer, we need to check ourselves for our unconscious bias, because that should be the rule and not the exception to it. And if we are just more mindful in our approach across the board, we can be even more impactful as an industry.
Awesome. And is there anything that you are seeing now in terms of trends that you find troubling?
Troubling trend. I mean, being Bay and on Fleek, all of that is troubling. But, that's something that was always going to be bubbling under the surface, especially for us, working in the cross-cultural space. We are de facto, very cognizant of how we present ourselves and how through either our work or through our actual, executions of what we're giving to clients. So I don't see anything in multicultural marketing that is new. It's been the same since Tom Burrell was saying black people are not dark-skinned white people. It's always going to be there because there's a tendency to not look at black people for our humanity. There's a tendency for us to be invisible unless we fit what it is that people expect us to be. So a criminal or a thug or an artist or an entertainer. So that's the thing that's always below the surface for me as a marketer, because my job is to make sure not only that I hit the client goal, but on a higher consciousness level, my job is to make sure that I'm presenting an image that is true to the scope of who we are, and not just in an exploitative way.
Do you feel that we still need multicultural shops?
Now, see, you trying to start some trouble.
Tons of debate about there, like, the regular agencies can reach the same people.
General market, total market, cross-cultural market.
All of those fun buzzwords.
Just be smart and have smart thinkings. Do I think the multicultural agency is going the way of the dinosaur? Not right away, but we have to keep abreast of trends, even if that is, if that means stepping a bit outside of the box and saying that we can do more than just Black advertising or more than just urban advertising. I think that has been one of the issues, is because we are so focused on our niche, we may have negated the fact that our niche is what creates the ripple effect for all of these other things. So, take in more clients that recognize your value as a people and as an agency to really be able to speak to the broader society. That's one way to approach it.
Is there any multicultural shop that you are loving right now that you feel is doing some outstanding work?
Can I decline to answer that?
Of course you can.
Who do I like right now? I feel like the latest work that I've seen, I can't pull out any specific ad per se, but for a great while I was liking the work that Comic Brown was doing with AT&T. And Sanders Wingo as well. I think they both had pieces of the AT&T work, so I can't even say which of the two had it. But there were some pieces that were very much touching on like these core things about the heart of people, especially in their Black History Month campaign. So I actually thought those were really good. They have an ongoing campaign that speaks to African Americans, and then obviously ties it into some relevant sales piece. So I did like the work that was done there. The Kevin Hart stuff,
the guys on, I think the commercials featured like Anthony and a bunch of other startups, influencers, like Glenn was in one of the commercials for AT&T. So
they have not Marcus. They had one of the guys from Fat Startup, I think.
So you have done some work with an organization that I love, which is called Digital Undivided. Can you tell me a little bit why you are passionate about working with them and kind of like and what do you feel about like the future of women and particularly women of color and in the startup space and because you've also were working on your own startup at one point.
Yeah, and I still am. I'm deciding if it's really meant to be a consultancy or am I trying to automate something that cannot be automated. But I'll share that with your audience at a later time. As far as Digital Undivided, I am actually still working with them. We're in stealth mode right now. So what made me the most passionate about working with Catherine and Darlene, who are partners over there at Digital Undivided, is that I am able to have the opportunity to work for and by and on issues that directly impact me as a Black person, as a Black woman, and in this tech space. there's been lots and lots and lots and lots of talk about diversity. I am absolutely sick of talking about diversity. What are the solutions? And I think Digital Undivided is in a place where we can address where we have come from in the past 4 years and the fellows that have worked with us and have had success in their businesses, and then really discuss the plan moving forward, not just for us, but for really revitalizing the Black community. And tech is an avenue to do that. Like, tech is about abundance. Look at what is being invested in some of the companies that are out there. And I mean, you'll have 5 or 6 companies doing, honestly, the exact same thing, but they'll have billion-dollar exits, double-digit $1 million
like
exits.
their angel round will be like, if I could just get that angel round, I was talking to one girl on the panel, and she was telling me how much money they got just from their angel. Like, this isn't a Series A. This is just from, them going out. And I was like, the concept sounds cool, but I don't know if that's like, a multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah, and then imagine if you're working for one of these companies as an employee and you have stock options. You are now in a unique position that when the company cashes out, you could also cash out too. Like, you can cash out and be a millionaire. So what makes me passionate about Digital Undivided is, they are looking at a very facts-driven and meritocracy-driven and an empowering approach to entrepreneurship or careers in tech. Because at the end of the day, we cannot use a 1960s solution to solve a millennial problem. Blacks in tech is not a civil rights issue. It's just not. It's about Black meritocracy, Black visibility, Black leadership. Like, these are the things that are going to move us forward. So I could go on a real tangent about that.
Do you feel like we're heading in the right direction, or do you feel like there's just too much talk with no action?
I feel that both things can happen. There is a lot of talk and there is no action. I would like for more voices to be amplified who are actually taking actions beyond stating the obvious. Tristan Walker, which in our marketing group can sometimes be a little bit of a polarizing figure, but he has Code 2040, and he is actually in a position where he is placing folks who have come through Code 2040 in jobs. That's that's helpful. We need more people and more organizations that are doing things like that are doing things like Digital Undivided by putting early-stage startups through an incubator and really teaching them how to grow their business from one level to the next. I mean, we had, just this week, I did a tech talk with Kelly James of Macaris, which is it's a commodities trading, like it's a data trading app for corn syrup, so corn, soybeans, and other agricultural products, non-GMO versions. And she was talking about what it takes to go through a Series A, but her company has raised $2.5 million or $3 million in a seed round, in a Series A round. Now, granted, that's not what some of our programmer counterparts are getting, but that's major. And if you can only have more, so if we only have more people that are getting that type of interest and able to really push their businesses to the next level. We have Nicole Sanchez, who's really kind of revitalizing how salon owners become profitable by taking the model of selling weave, like hair bundles, and putting that power in the hands of the stylist. Now they're able to make more money. She's raised $2 million in a seed round to grow her business. Black hair care is billions and billions of dollars. We all know this. How many stylists are able to keep more money in their salons, in their community, as opposed to going out to whoever the wholesale developer is, whoever Alibaba has sent them, and I don't mean that in a negative way, Alibaba.com, which is a brokerage for everything under the sun. How many people are able to keep the money circulating within their own neighborhoods? And that's super important.
Yeah, totally. And I think that isn't Brooklyn Ventures was working on the hair care startup, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so, I think all this information is it's super important because I think, we just have a lot of work that we need to do. And so sometimes I say on my computer, I was like, how do I get all this stuff done? Like, I'm trying to do this podcast. I'm trying to, run Blacks in Tech and, trying to go to every conference and just share out all of this information, which is one of the reasons why I launched this podcast, because I felt like, there's such a brain trust out here and we're just not sharing. Everybody's not ready to, raise their first $2 million yet. Like, a lot of people are just at an idea, so that's why I think it's great that, organizations exist like, Digital Undivided, and that you have the Fellows program, and that, your mission is really to, help 500 women of color, launch, businesses, and you guys are doing that, and it's from being at the conference and just seeing everything you guys have done, it's been, really successful, and it's only kind of continued. So I think, it's really about creating the model and then just making it work and sharing out the success so that people can see, here's a model that works and here's a model that's successful. And, for me, one company, one organization can't solve all the problems of, that's going on in the community. So we have to work with people on the West Coast, East Coast, in Africa, everywhere, just to, really, build that momentum. And so what's going on with your startup?
Oh, my gosh. Like I said earlier, I talk to Kathy about my startup a lot. By working with them, I get the benefit of, I'm not a fellow, but I'm like an honorary fellow, because I get to ask her all kinds of random questions to try to help move my business forward. So one of the main issues, because it's a lot of data that I'll be parsing, but parsing it for the purpose of building sentiment, I had reached this kind of this milestone where I need to find out if what I'm trying to do can be automated, or is it dependent on my brain. It can't be dependent on my brain. You can't run a business that every time a solution needs to be come up with, they have to call you to get it. So that's the space that I'm in with cusp data right now, but hoping to move past that in the next 6 to 8 months.
Awesome.
So,
I know you're a big music head, so what track are you spinning right now? What are you listening to?
Oh, my goodness. I ripped Kendrick Lamar's Untitled off of the last Stephen Colbert report. I love Kendrick Lamar. Listening to D'Angelo's latest, of course, Black Messiah. A little bit of Dead Prez, because I'm just getting real revolutionary with my shit right now. And then for danceability, I got My Little Dragon. I love Tevin Everett, Beyonce, and Drake. I'm not ashamed of that at all. And I even listen to some of the younger artists, YG, Tinashe, Dej Loaf. I give them a little bit of shine here and there. They get you dancing.
Awesome. Well, we're going to play one of your tracks as we lead out. And so I just wanted to, say thank you so much for, jumping on the podcast today and giving us some insight. We definitely have to have you back again so we can kind of, check, later in 2015 and see how the brands are doing with their cultural IQ and, what new slang term they may be abusing for 2015, because I'm sure they're waiting for something new to pop up to attack. So how can everyone find you on the web?
You can find me on Facebook at Get Cultural IQ, on Twitter at Deniree. That's DNYREE. And you can actually find me on Tumblr, too. Sometimes I'm over there just sharing music and what have you. So if you go to amberyuros.tumblr.com, you will find me just being me. That's like the only place I have online where people can kind of get an idea of who I am. Between there and Twitter, you can find out about me and my business.
Awesome. So we'll make sure to put all of that stuff in the show notes so that everyone can follow you. So we want to wish you a happy New Year and keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate you for having me on.
All righty. Peace.
Smart Brown Voices with your host, Mr. Mike Street. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll leave a review on iTunes and tell your friends and colleagues. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts and make sure to follow us on social media. This has been a Mr. Mike Street production. Join us next time for another edition of Smart Brown Voices and be inspired.